The alarm screamed through every corridor of the Valerian homeworld. Captain Juan stood on the observation deck, watching his planet die. The star that had warmed their world for millions of years was collapsing. It was happening too fast. The scientists said they had weeks, maybe months. They were wrong. They had hours. All ships report ready for departure, Sol said behind him. She was his best navigator, calm even now when everything was ending. Her voice shook only a little. 20,000 people are aboard. That's all we could save. 20,000. Out of billions. Juan closed his eyes. The rest were already gone, consumed by the heat waves that rolled across their world. Cities that stood for thousands of years were now ash. Libraries filled with their entire history were burning. Children who would never grow up. Families torn apart in the chaos. Launch the Wandering Hope, Juan said. Get us out of here. The massive generation ship pulled away from the dying planet. Through the windows, the Valerians watched their home disappear. Some cried, others stared in silence. What do you say when your entire world ends? What words exist for that kind of loss? The ship was huge, built over decades as a science vessel. Now it was a lifeboat. It had gardens to grow food, water recyclers, living quarters, medical bays, and engines powerful enough to cross the galaxy. But it was meant for a crew of 5,000, not 20,000 refugees. They would have to make it work. They had no choice. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Sol plotted courses to nearby star systems. Surely someone would help them. The galaxy was full of advanced civilizations. The Valerians had traded with many of them, shared their mathematical discoveries, their art, their music. They had friends out there, or so they thought. The first world they approached was controlled by the Kryn Empire. Juan sent a message explaining their situation. He asked for temporary shelter, just until they could find a permanent home. The Kryn response came quickly. Request denied. Our worlds are full. Refugees are not welcome. The second attempt was with the Thexian collective. They had seemed friendly during past encounters. Juan was hopeful, but the answer was the same. We cannot take responsibility for displaced populations. Seek help elsewhere. Elsewhere. But where? They tried 17 different civilizations over the next 3 years. Some didn't respond at all. Others sent polite refusals. A few were hostile, threatening to destroy the Wandering Hope if it entered their space. The Galactic Coalition, the massive alliance that governed most of known space, issued a formal statement. Refugee populations destabilize local economies and create security concerns. Member worlds are advised against accepting displaced species. In the gardens, Valerian children played among the food plants. They had been very young when the world ended. Some barely remembered the home planet. They only knew the ship, the metal walls, the recycled air. They asked their parents when they would have a real home again. The parents had no answer. Food became a problem. The gardens produced enough to feed 5,000. With 20,000 mouths, rations had to be cut. Families received smaller portions each month. The elderly began dying first, their bodies unable to survive on so little, the medical bay filled with sick children, their bodies weak from malnutrition. Juan walked through the ship each day. He saw the hope fading from his people's eyes. They had trusted him to save them. He had gotten them off the dying world, but now what? They were alive, but for how long? The ship's systems were old, breaking down. Day, their chief engineer worked 18-hour days trying to keep everything running. The life support system in Section 7 is failing, Day reported one morning. He looked exhausted, his eyes red from lack of sleep. I can patch it, but the parts are wearing out. I don't know how much longer we can keep this up. 37 years passed. An entire generation of Valerian children grew up knowing only the ship. They fell in love, married, had children of their own. Babies were born in the medical bay, their first cries echoing through metal corridors instead of open air. They would never feel real wind, never see a sunrise, never run through grass. Sol spent those years studying every star chart she could find. She was searching for something, anything they might have missed. One night she called Juan to the navigation room. Her eyes were bright with something he hadn't seen in decades. Hope. I found something, she said, pointing at a star map. Here at the edge of known space. Most species dismissed this system years ago. Why? Juan asked. Because the dominant species there is primitive. They only achieved faster than light communication a few decades ago. Most advanced races consider them irrelevant. Juan studied the map. A small yellow star, third planet from the sun, blue and green. What are they called? Humans, Sul said. And their world is called Earth. Why would they help us if no one else will? Sul shrugged. Maybe they won't, but we're running out of options. The life support is failing. Food supplies are critical. We have maybe 6 months left before the ship becomes uninhabitable. Juan looked at the data on Earth. A young species, barely into space. They had nothing the great empires wanted, which was probably why they were left alone. Could such a primitive people help a refugee population of 20,000? It seemed impossible, but what choice did they have? Set course for Earth, Juan ordered. Send them a message. Explain who we are and what happened to us. Ask if they will see us. The wandering hope turned toward the small yellow star. It would take 6 months to reach it. 6 months. The same amount of time they had left before the ship died completely. It was perfect timing or a cruel joke. They would find out which. As the ship traveled through the darkness, Juan stood at the observation window. Behind them, 37 years of rejection. Ahead, an unknown species that might be their last hope. He thought about the children born on this ship. They deserved better than slow death in the void. They deserved a world with sky and soil and future. The message was sent. Now all they could do was wait and hope that somewhere in the galaxy, someone still remembered what compassion meant. The blue-green world grew larger in their view screens with each passing day. Commander Tay stood on the bridge of the ESS Harmony, staring at the screen in disbelief. The alien ship was massive, bigger than anything humanity had ever built. It hung in space near Mars, silent and dark. Parts of it looked damaged. Lights flickered in some sections while others sat completely black. Sir, we're receiving a message, the communications officer said. It's in multiple languages. They're asking for help. Put it through, Tay ordered. A face appeared on screen. The alien looked similar to humans in some ways, but different in others. Their skin had a slight blue tint. Their eyes were larger, darker. They looked tired, scared. I am Captain Juan of the Valerian generation ship Wandering Hope, the alien said. The translation software worked perfectly. We are refugees. Our homeworld was destroyed 37 years ago. We have traveled the galaxy seeking shelter. Every civilization has turned us away. We are dying. Our ship is failing. We have 20,000 people aboard, including children. We ask Earth for help. We ask for mercy. The transmission ended. Tay felt his chest tighten. 20,000 refugees, children, a dying ship. He had been prepared for many things when he took this command. Invasion, first contact, diplomatic missions. But not this. Never this, sir. What are your orders? His first officer asked. Get me a direct line to Earth Command, Tay said. And prepare a shuttle. I'm going to see that ship for myself. The shuttle ride took 40 minutes. As they approached the Wandering Hope, Tay saw the damage up close. Hull plates were patched with mismatched metals. Whole sections looked like they might fall apart. The ship had been through hell. They docked at the main airlock. When the doors opened, Tay stepped into a corridor filled with aliens. Valerians. They stared at him with those large, dark eyes. Some held children. Others leaned on walls looking weak. The air smelled wrong, stale. The lights were dim, probably to save power. A Valerian stepped forward. Male, Tay thought, based on the deeper voice. I am Day, Chief Engineer. Captain Juan sent me to show you our ship. Thank you, Tay said. He followed Day through the corridors. What he saw made his heart ache. Families crowded into spaces meant for storage. Children sat on floors, quiet and still in a way children should never be. The medical bay was full of sick people lying on makeshift beds. A Valerian doctor moved between them. But Tay could see they didn't have enough medicine, enough equipment, enough anything. This section's life support failed 2 weeks ago, Day explained, showing him a sealed corridor. We had to evacuate everyone. Move them to areas that still work. We're running out of working sections. How long? Tay asked, honestly. Maybe 3 months. Maybe less. The main reactor is unstable. If it goes, the whole ship goes dark. And we all die. In the garden section, Tay saw Valerian farmers trying to grow food under dying lights. The plants looked weak. A child, maybe 7 years old, sat next to a wilted vegetable plant. She touched its leaves gently, like she was trying to help it grow through sheer will. How long have you been looking for a home? Tay asked. 37 years, Day said. I was young when we left our world. Now I'm old. Some of these children were born on this ship. They've never felt real gravity, never breathed real air, never seen a real sky. Tay returned to his shuttle with a heavy heart. He sent his report to Earth immediately, including videos of everything he saw. The sick children, the failing systems, the hope dying in those dark alien eyes. On Earth, the message reached Director Yun of the World Council within the hour. He called an emergency meeting. Scientists, politicians, military leaders, economists all gathered in the Great Hall. They watched Tay's report in silence. "We can't do this," General Kim said when it ended. 20,000 aliens? Where would we put them? How would we feed them? We're still recovering from our own climate disasters. We have our own people to take care of. "They're dying," Dr. Mira said. She was Earth's chief xenobiologist, one of the few humans who had actually met aliens before. "We're talking about children, families, an entire species on the edge of extinction." "That's not our problem," the general argued. "Every other advanced civilization in the galaxy refused them. Why? Because it's impossible. Because it's too expensive. Because it creates problems. Or because they lack basic compassion," Dr. Mira shot back. The argument went on for hours. The cost would be enormous. The logistics were nightmarish. They would have to build new settlements, create new infrastructure, deal with disease compatibility, food requirements, atmospheric differences, and there was no guarantee it would work. But there was another side to the debate. Humans knew what it meant to be refugees. Earth's history was full of displaced people, populations running from war and disaster. Every human alive could trace their ancestry back to someone who had once been a stranger in a strange land, asking for help. Director Yun listened to both sides. Finally, he raised his hand for silence. "I've made my decision," he said. "We will help them." The room erupted in protests and cheers, both at once. "I know the risks," Yun continued. "I know the costs. But I also know who we are. Humanity has always been at its best when we help those who cannot help themselves. We judge ourselves not by how we treat the powerful, but by how we treat those who have nothing. These people have nothing. Their ship is dying. Their children are starving, and they came to us because we were their last hope." He looked around the room, meeting every eye. "If we turn them away, we lose something more important than money or resources. We lose our humanity. We lose the right to call ourselves good. So we will help them. We will find a way." "That is final," Dr. Mira smiled. General Kim shook his head but didn't argue further. The decision was made. Tay received the message 2 hours later. He flew back to the Wandering Hope and requested a meeting with Captain Huan. When the old Valerian appeared, Tay saw the fear in his eyes. The fear of hearing no one more time. The fear that this had all been for nothing. "Captain Huan," Tay said, "Earth has made its decision. We will give you shelter. We will give you a home." For a moment, Huan just stared. Then his legs gave out. He sat down hard, his hands shaking. "You will help us, truly?" "Truly," Tay said. "Bring your people to Earth. We will find a way together." Throughout the Wandering Hope, the message spread. Earth said yes. After 37 years of rejection, someone finally said yes. Valerians hugged each other. Some cried. Parents held their children close and whispered that everything would be okay now. That night, 20,000 Valerians looked at the blue-green planet on their view screens. It wasn't their home world. It would never replace what they lost. But it was something they thought they would never have again. It was hope. The first shuttles landed in New Zealand on a clear autumn morning. Ara stood with hundreds of other human volunteers watching the alien ships descend. Her heart pounded. This was history. This was the day Earth stopped being just a human world. The shuttle doors opened. An old Valerian stepped out first. Captain Huan. His legs shook as his feet touched real ground for the first time in 37 years. He knelt down and pressed his hands into the grass. Tears ran down his blue-tinted face. Behind him, more Valerians emerged. They moved slowly, carefully. Most had lived in low gravity for decades. Earth's full gravity made them stumble. Children clung to their parents, frightened by the open sky. One little girl screamed when wind touched her face for the first time. She had never felt wind before. "Welcome to Earth," Ara said, stepping forward. She had been chosen as the settlement coordinator. Her job was to help these people adjust to their new home. She had no idea if she was qualified for this. Nobody was. This had never been done before. Dr. Kwan ran the medical tent. Within the first hour, 50 Valerians needed treatment. Their bodies were weak from years of poor nutrition and low gravity. Some had diseases the human doctors had never seen. Others were simply exhausted, their bodies finally giving up now that they were safe. "We need to build atmospheric processors," a Valerian engineer told Era. "Our lungs can handle Earth's air, but it's not optimal. The oxygen levels are different from our home world. We need different food," a Valerian mother said, holding her crying child. "Human food makes us sick. Our digestive systems work differently. We need schools for our children," another said. "They've had no proper education for years." The problems piled up faster than solutions could be found. But humans tried. They built temporary shelters that could be modified for Valerian atmospheric needs. They worked with Valerian scientists to develop compatible food. They set up medical facilities. They learned not everyone was happy about it. In the cities, protests began. Humans held signs saying "Earth for humans" and "Send them back." News shows featured angry people talking about wasted resources and security risks. "We're spending billions on aliens while our own people are homeless," one politician shouted on television. "This is insane." The criticism hurt. Era saw it affecting the Valerians. They felt like burdens, like they weren't wanted. Some talked about leaving, finding another world, even though they knew there was nowhere else to go. Then something changed. It started small. A Valerian scientist named Na was working in the settlement's research lab. She had been studying Earth's atmospheric data, trying to understand her new home. She noticed something. Earth's carbon levels were dangerously high. Humans had been fighting climate change for decades, making progress but slowly. Too slowly. Na had an idea. On her homeworld, Valerians had solved a similar problem 2,000 years ago. She spent 3 days working on calculations, then brought her findings to Dr. Mira. "This is a carbon sequestration system," Na explained, showing complex diagrams. "It's based on organic chemistry we developed on our world. If modified for Earth's atmosphere, it could reduce carbon levels 50 times faster than current human technology." Dr. Mira stared at the data. "This would solve our biggest environmental crisis. This would save us decades of work." "My people want to contribute," Na said quietly. "We want to give something back. Earth gave us life. We want to help Earth live too." The carbon sequestration system was built in 6 months. When activated, it worked exactly as Na promised. Climate scientists called it a miracle. Suddenly, Earth's environmental future looked brighter than it had in a century. Other Valerians began sharing their knowledge. Medical advances that cured diseases humans had struggled with for years. Agricultural techniques that increased crop yields. Water purification systems that were cheap and efficient. They weren't sharing weapons or dangerous technology. They were sharing things that helped people live better lives. "They're not taking from us," Director Yoon announced on global television. "They're giving to us. And they're doing it because we showed them kindness when everyone else showed them cruelty." Public opinion started to shift. The protests grew smaller. More people began volunteering at the settlement. They wanted to help. They wanted to meet these aliens who were working so hard to earn their place. In the settlement, Jin taught at the first integrated school. Human and Valerian children sat in the same classroom. It was chaos at first. The species learned differently. Valerian children were incredible at mathematics but struggled with creative writing. Human children were the opposite. "Why do humans tell so many stories?" a young Valerian boy asked Jin one day. "Because stories help us understand the world," Jin explained. "They help us feel connected to each other." The boy thought about this. Then he wrote his first story. It was about a ship traveling through darkness looking for light. It made Jin cry. Human children learned from Valerians too. They played Valerian spatial games that sharpened their thinking. They learned Valerian mathematics that opened new ways of understanding numbers. The children didn't see each other as different species. They saw friends. A Valerian chef named Leah started experimenting with Earth ingredients. She combined Valerian cooking techniques with human spices. The result was something entirely new. Food that both species could eat and enjoy. Her restaurant became the most popular place in the settlement. "This is fusion cuisine," Leah said, serving a dish that smelled like nothing else on Earth. Not Valerian, not human, something new, something we made together. The settlement grew. What started as temporary shelters became permanent buildings, architecture that blended human and Valerian design, gardens where Earth plants grew next to Valerian crops, streets where two species walked side by side. Juan walked through the settlement every evening. He saw children playing in parks, families laughing in their homes, young Valerians going to work alongside young humans. This was what he had dreamed of for 37 years. A real home he found Saul at the new Space Center. She was working with human engineers on improved shuttle designs, combining human creativity with Valerian precision. "We did it," Juan said. "We survived." "We did more than survive," Saul replied. "We found a place where we belong, where we can build something new." But not everyone in the galaxy was happy about it. Deep in space, the Galactic Coalition watched Earth with growing concern. A primitive species was sheltering refugees that the advanced civilizations had rejected. It was setting a dangerous example. It was challenging the natural order. Ambassador Vin of the Thexian Empire called a coalition meeting. "Earth must be dealt with," he said. "Their actions threaten stability. They harbor refugees against our advice. They operate outside coalition authority. This cannot continue." A fleet was assembled, massive warships powerful enough to destroy planets. They set course for Earth's solar system. On Earth, humans and Valerians continued building their shared future, unaware of the storm approaching. They had overcome poverty and disease and prejudice. They had proven that two species could live together in peace. Now they would have to prove they could defend that peace against those who feared it. The coalition fleet appeared without warning. 50 massive warships materialized at the edge of Earth's solar system. Each one was 3 times the size of humanity's largest vessel. Each one carried enough firepower to crack a planet's surface. Commander Tay stood on the bridge of the Harmony, staring at the sensor readings with growing dread. "How many?" "50 confirmed," his tactical officer said. "More jumping in every minute." "Sir, we're outnumbered 10 to 1. If they attack, we can't win." "Get me Director Yun," Tay ordered, "and prepare the fleet for defensive positions." Earth's entire space navy consisted of 12 ships. They had been built for exploration and research, not war. Against a coalition armada, they were like children with sticks facing trained soldiers with guns. Ambassador Vin's face appeared on every screen across Earth. He was Thexian, a species that had controlled a third of the galaxy for 5,000 years. His expression showed no emotion. "People of Earth," he began, "I speak for the Galactic Coalition. You have violated cosmic law by harboring the Valerian refugees without coalition approval. You have ignored our warnings. You have operated outside proper authority. This ends now." He paused, letting his words sink in. "You will surrender the Valerians to coalition custody for proper processing. You will submit to coalition oversight. You will cease your independent operations. If you comply, Earth will be welcomed into the galactic community. If you refuse, you will face economic isolation and potential military action. You have 24 hours to decide." The transmission ended. In the settlement, Valerians heard the message with growing horror. They had seen coalition fleets before. They knew what proper processing meant. Scattered across dozens of different worlds, families separated, children taken from parents, all in the name of stability and order. Juan found Director Yun in the emergency command center. "We'll leave," Juan said immediately. "We won't let Earth suffer because of us. We'll go with the coalition. We'll accept whatever happens." "No," Yun said firmly. "You don't understand," Juan pleaded. "The coalition doesn't make empty threats. They will destroy you. We're not worth that." "That's not your decision to make," Yun said. "You're under Earth's protection now. That means something. It means you'll all die for us." Yun turned to face the old Valerian captain. "My grandfather was a refugee. He fled a war when he was 5 years old. He walked across a continent with nothing but the clothes on his back. When he reached the border, strangers took him in, fed him, kept him safe. They had very little themselves, but they shared what they had. Those strangers saved his life. He never forgot that kindness. He walked to the window looking out at Earth below. Every human alive descends from someone who was helped when they needed it most. That's who we are. That's what we believe in, and I won't betray that. Not for the coalition, not for anyone." Within hours, protests erupted across Earth. Millions of humans took to the streets. They carried signs reading, "They stay and Earth stands together." People who had opposed the Valerian settlement joined those who supported it. The coalition's ultimatum had united humanity like nothing before. In the settlement, humans formed protective rings around Valerian homes. "If they want you, they go through us first," Ara told her Valerian neighbors. Jinn students, both human and Valerian children, made a video message to the galaxy. "We're friends," a young girl said. "We learn together. We play together. Why is that wrong?" Dr. Mira and Na held a press conference displaying all the advances Valerians had brought to Earth. "They saved our planet's environment," Mira said. "They cured diseases. They helped us become better. And now you want us to hand them over? Never." The Coalition watched Earth's response with growing unease. This was not how primitive species were supposed to behave. They should have been terrified. They should have submitted immediately. Instead, they were defiant. Commander Tay prepared his small fleet. The odds were impossible, but they would fight anyway. Human engineers worked day and night with Valerian scientists, trying to upgrade their shields, their weapons, anything that might help. "We developed new shielding technology," Day told Tay, showing him the designs. "It's based on Valerian science but modified for human ships. It won't make you invincible, but it'll help." "How much will it help?" "You might survive 5 minutes instead of 2, Day said honestly. "I'm sorry. I wish we had something better." Tay smiled grimly. 3 extra minutes to defend our home. "I'll take it." The galaxy watched Earth's defiance with intense interest. Most species expected humanity to surrender. But something unexpected happened. Minor species, those who had suffered under Coalition dominance for centuries, started speaking out. The Barine, a peaceful species pushed to the edge of their territory by Coalition expansion, sent a message. "We stand with Earth." The Million Confederacy, small worlds barely holding on to independence, declared, "Earth shows true courage. We support their choice." One by one, 17 species announced their support for Earth. None of them had military power. None could actually help in a fight. But they were speaking up, and that was dangerous. The Coalition's power relied on everyone accepting their authority without question. Ambassador Vin called an emergency Coalition meeting. The chamber filled with representatives from hundreds of species. The debate was fierce. "Earth must be punished," Vin insisted. "They've challenged our authority. If we let this stand, others will follow." "Perhaps others should follow," a younger Thexian diplomat said. "When did we become a force that punishes compassion?" "Compassion is a luxury for stable societies," Vin argued. "Refugees create chaos. They drain resources. They're people," the young diplomat interrupted. "When did we forget that?" The Coalition chamber erupted in arguments. Species that had been allies for millennia found themselves on opposite sides. Some defended the ultimatum. Others questioned it. The absolute unity of the Coalition began to crack. On Earth, the deadline approached. Director Yun addressed the planet one final time. "The Coalition wants us to choose between safety and principle, between survival and what's right. They think we'll surrender because we're young and weak and scared. They're wrong. Yes, we're young. Yes, we're weaker than them. Yes, we're scared, but we're also human. And humans don't abandon those who depend on us." He looked directly into the camera. "Ambassador Vin, here is Earth's answer. No, the Valerians stay. They are our friends, our neighbors, our responsibility. If you want to punish us for that, then punish us. But you'll have to go through us first." The deadline passed. Earth's answer was clear. Ambassador Vin stood on his flagship staring at the blue-green planet. His orders were to enforce the ultimatum. His fleet could destroy Earth's defenses in minutes. He could end this rebellion with a single command. But 17 species had voiced support for Earth. His own people were divided. Young Thexians were questioning the old ways. If he attacked, would he be enforcing order or starting a civil war within the Coalition itself? "Sir," his tactical officer said. "Orders?" Vin thought about his long career. 500 years of service to the Coalition. 500 years of maintaining order, enforcing law, keeping the galaxy stable. But stable for who? Safe for who? He looked at the data on Earth. A young species willing to risk everything for refugees. That wasn't weakness. That was something the Coalition had forgotten long ago. Strength. "Recall the fleet," Vin said quietly. "Sir?" "You heard me. Recall the fleet. We're withdrawing." Throughout the Coalition armada, ships began jumping away. Within an hour, the massive fleet that had threatened Earth was gone. On Earth, humanity erupted in celebration. In the settlements, humans and Valerians hugged each other, crying with relief. They had faced down the most powerful force in the galaxy, and won, not with weapons, Not with threats, but with simple, stubborn refusal to abandon those who needed them. 5 years after the Coalition fleet withdrew, Sol stood in the command center of Earth's first joint exploration vessel. The ship was beautiful, a blend of human and Valerian design. Sleek lines from human aesthetics, advanced systems from Valerian engineering. It represented everything they had built together. Ready for launch, her co-pilot said. He was human, young, eager. His name was June, and he had grown up in the settlement playing with Valerian children. To him, two species working together was normal. Natural. Earth control, this is the Unity, Sol said, requesting permission to launch. Permission granted, Unity, came the response. Good luck out there. The ship lifted smoothly into the sky. Sol watched Earth shrink below them. Somewhere down there in the settlement, her daughter was watching. Born 5 years ago on Earth, she was the first Valerian child to know true planetary sunrise. She spoke both human languages and Valerian. She attended Jin's school and had a dozen human friends. She had never known the wandering hope. Never known hunger or fear or rejection. She only knew home. In the settlement, that home had grown into something remarkable. 3 major population centers now, each a perfect blend of both species. Buildings with Valerian mathematical precision and human artistic flair. Parks where earth flowers grew beside Valerian plants brought from seed banks. Streets where you couldn't tell where human architecture ended and Valerian began. Dr. Mira walked through the central hospital with Na. Together, they had written the comprehensive guide to human Valerian medical cooperation. It was being studied across the galaxy now. Other species wanted to know how they had made it work. Case 37, Mira said, pulling up a file. Human patient with a rare genetic disorder. Traditional human medicine couldn't help. But using Valerian gene therapy techniques modified for human biology, we cured her completely. And case 41, Na added. Valerian child with respiratory problems. Human environmental adaptation medicine saved his life. We're better together than we ever were apart. It was true everywhere you looked. Valerian engineers working with human designers created better technology. Human teachers and Valerian educators developed new learning methods that worked for everyone. Artists from both species collaborated on works that neither could have made alone. Leah's restaurant had expanded into a chain. Fusion cuisine, she called it. Food that belonged to both species and neither. It was becoming popular even off-world. Other species tried it and wanted to know how Earth had created something so new, so different, so good. It's simple, Leah told a visiting food critic from the Barine species. You start with respect. You add trust. You mix in willingness to try new things. And you serve it with love. The critic wrote, Earth has discovered something the ancient species forgot. That combining strengths creates something greater than either alone. In Jin's school, the classroom had changed. It wasn't just human and Valerian children anymore. 3 Barine students had enrolled. 2 million. Even a young Thexian sent by parents who wanted their child to learn the Earth way. Today we're going to talk about stories, Jin said. Not just human stories or Valerian stories. Stories from all species, because every species has stories and every story teaches us something. A Valerian girl raised her hand. Teacher Jin, why did the galaxy reject us but Earth accepted us? The classroom went quiet. It was a hard question. Jin thought carefully about his answer. Because Earth is young, he said finally. We remember being weak. We remember needing help. Old, powerful civilizations sometimes forget what that feels like. They forget that everyone needs help sometimes. They forget kindness. When will Earth forget too? A human boy asked. When we get old and powerful? I hope not, Jin said. I hope we always remember this moment. When we chose to help instead of looking away. When we chose right over easy. The galactic political landscape had shifted dramatically. The coalition still existed, but its absolute authority was broken. 17 species had found their voice during the Earth crisis. They continued speaking up, demanding reform, insisting on compassion. 3 more refugee populations had found sanctuary on coalition worlds. Member species, inspired by Earth's example, had opened their borders. It wasn't many. It wasn't enough. But it was a start. Young members of old species looked at Earth with admiration. They saw a better way. They pushed for change in their own governments. Slowly, very slowly, the galaxy was learning. Ambassador Vin had resigned from his position. He spent his retirement on Earth, surprisingly. He walked through the settlements, observing, learning. He wrote a book called What Earth Taught the Galaxy. It became required reading in coalition diplomatic schools. I was wrong, Vin wrote in the introduction. For 500 years I believed that order and stability were the highest goods, that refugees were problems to be managed, that compassion was weakness. Earth showed me that true strength is helping those who cannot help themselves, that civilizations are measured not by their power, but by their kindness. Director Yun, now retired himself, met with Vin often. They had become unlikely friends. Do you regret it? Vin asked one day sitting in a settlement cafe. The risk you took? You could have lost everything. Yun sipped his tea, valerian blend mixed with earth herbs, another fusion creation. If we had turned them away, we would have lost something more important. Our souls. Our belief that we could be better than those who came before us. Captain Huan, very old now, spent his days in the settlement's central park. Children played around him. Both species mixed together so completely you couldn't separate them. They were just children, just friends. A young girl, his granddaughter, ran up to him. Half Valerian, half human relationships were still rare, but they existed. This child was fully Valerian but had been born on Earth. She knew no other home. Grandfather, she said, tell me about the Wandering Hope. Juan smiled sadly. It was a dark time. We were lost. We had nowhere to go. The galaxy turned its back on us. But Earth didn't, the girl said. She had heard this story many times but never tired of it. No, Juan agreed. Earth didn't, even though they were young. Even though they were small. Even though helping us cost them dearly. They helped anyway. Why? It was the same question asked 5 years ago. The same question that would be asked for generations. Because humans remember, Juan said. They remember being weak. Being scared. Needing help. And they decided that when someone needed help, they would give it. No matter the cost, the girl thought about this. I would have helped too. I know you would, Juan said, hugging her. That's what Earth taught you. What they taught all of us. That night there was a celebration in the settlement. 5 years since the coalition withdrew. 5 years of peace and growth and learning. Both species gathered in the central square. Director Yun, though retired, gave a speech. 5 years ago we made a choice. Not everyone agreed with it. Many thought we were foolish, reckless. But we believed that our civilization would be judged not by our weapons or our wealth, but by our willingness to help those who had lost everything. He looked around at the crowd. Human and Valerian faces mixed together, united. We gave the Valerians a home. In return, they gave us something equally valuable. They showed us what we could become. Together, we built something new, something beautiful, something that proves different species can not just coexist but thrive together. He raised his glass. To the next 5 years. To the next 50. To a future where no one is ever lost among the stars again. Where everyone has a home. Where kindness is strength, not weakness. To home, the crowd echoed. To hope. High above Earth, Sol guided the Unity into deep space. They were heading toward a distress signal. Another species in trouble. Another chance to help. Think they'll be friendly? June asked. Sol smiled. Friendly or not, they need help. That's enough. This was Earth's gift to the galaxy. Not advanced weapons. Not political power. But a simple idea that was somehow revolutionary. That everyone deserves help. Everyone deserves home. Everyone deserves hope. The Valerians had been lost among the stars for 37 years, rejected by every advanced civilization they encountered. It took the youngest, weakest species to teach the galaxy an ancient truth. That home is not found in treaties or technology, but in the simple act of opening doors to those who have nowhere else to go. That the greatest strength is not the power to destroy, but the courage to care. And that when different people choose cooperation over isolation, everyone rises together. Earth had given the Valerians a home. The Valerians had given Earth a future. Together they gave the galaxy something it desperately needed, an example worth following. As the Unity jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying Earth's message to the stars, Captain Huan stood in the settlement park under a sky full of real stars, surrounded by children who knew only peace. He had found what he thought was lost forever. Not just a planet, not just safety but belonging, purpose, family, home.